Thanks for spending your Wednesday night with us. It's really awesome. Yay. I'll just get you guys just to mute yourselves too, just so we don't have any inadvertent outside noise. As you guys know, I'm the chair of the Events Committee in Queensland, and today I'll be the moderator. Before we commence today's virtual presentation, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we meet today and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. If you haven't already found the chat box, there's a chat box on the bottom of the screen. So if you've got questions during the course of Sue's presentation, please feel free to pop the messages in there. You can either do it to everyone, so we can all have a look at your little comments, or you can send them directly to myself, Summer or Sue, preferably probably Summer or I, so that we can at least ask Sue the questions either as we go or towards the end. I'm more inclined to do it at the end, subject to Sue's comments. Now I'm going to know the answer to this, but if you want to make sure the chat box is working now, could you pop in where you're from? Might be a bit of a redundant question at the moment, but hey. Awesome. Wellington Point, Brisbane.
You're trying to make me say New South Wales again.
You put New South Wales in. Excellent. England. Go, Rach. And where are you all presently watching this from? At home or at work? Home. Yeah, majority of it looks like you're home. Kitchen. Woo. Exciting. Fantastic. Okay. So during today's session, we're going to be hearing from Sue Minchin. Now, Sue is from Think Action Consulting and will be providing us with an overview of the DiSC profiling and getting an idea of what is DiSC and why should I care, how to identify my style and spot others around me, how to stretch my style for better personal interactions, and what else can I learn from DiSC and how do I find out more. With time permitting, there may be an opportunity for questions during the presentation, but might be best to perhaps hold them towards the end. If there's a chance during the course of Sue's presentation, we might be able to, because we're such a small group tonight, we might be able to quickly potter Sue with some questions and try not to distract her too much, but maybe with those burning questions, we can ask them at the time. We will be doing a bit of a Q&A at the end. We were planning some breakout rooms as well, so that we could all have a bit of a natter together separately in smaller groups. We're already a fairly small group, so we might see how that plays out towards the end of Sue's presentation, and obviously how vocal you guys are with questions, and I'm sure there'll be a few flying through. Before we hear from Sue, we might want to hear from Jen Gillett, who's our president in the Queensland chapter, to give us an update on what the Queensland chapter's been focused on in 2020 and what we're looking forward to in 2021. Before I get Jen to speak, I just wanted to say a big thank you to our chapter sponsors, Multiplex and Queensland Building and Construction Commission, who are our gold sponsors, and Downer, who's our silver sponsor. I'll now hand it over to Jen, Queensland President of NAWIC. Thanks, Jen.
Thanks, Em. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for your time tonight, and a big thank you to Sue for being our lead tonight. This is a tester, as I sort of suggested, and volunteer. She understands and appreciates and is always keeping us on our toes for great events, engaging events, inspirational and educational. And we weren't able to do that for our volunteers, the heavy hitters in the committees, face to face. We would have, had a nice planning day or something like that. So this is really, really great. Thanks, Sam. And even more wonderful is that Lauren had said, Lauren Fahey there, had said, let's share that amongst all of the states. And this is where we need to be going in the future. I think we've all basically, over this time, we had some NAWIC ACT events that were able to be shared, and this strengthens the NAWIC network. And for me, this is a tester, and as you see, looks good. I can do that. I can speak without annoying. I can type in some questions. So thank you, Em, for pushing on this one. This will connect to the year ahead when we start engaging with the regional members. We are aiming for it. We're going to set up some subcommittees, and this is the tester. This is the platform. Regional construction people, women, are isolated, particularly the women. So that's what we're going to head towards, even as far as Papua New Guinea. So thank you for the tester, Em, and I look forward, no pressure, Sue, for full inspiration. And I'm already starting from baseline education, so I can only go up in the DiSC profiling. Thank you.
Thanks, Jen. That was fantastic. I'd now like to introduce our keynote speaker, Sue Minchin. Sue's an independent consultant specialising in organisational capability at Think Action Consulting. Sue has over 20 years' experience leading people ranging from sales teams of up to 100 to multicultural learning and teams across the Asia-Pacific region. Sue is a highly skilled facilitator. Sue's created and delivered multiple learning programs, workshops, and large conferences across a range of topics, including leadership, team building, strategy development, world-class sales and customer service, and cultural initiatives, project management, innovation, and change implementation. Sue has worked around the world in travel, retail, media, and communication industries, from medium-sized businesses to global corporations, most recently as Director of Learning Asia Pacific for Expedia. Sue holds a BA, a Cert 4 in Training and Assessment, DiSC and REACH Profile Accreditation, and Certified Practitioner in Prince 2 Project Management. Please welcome Sue.
Wow, I sound fancy, don't I? All right, let's get the PowerPoint swap going on, because we do love a bit of a technology handover in the middle of these things. So thanks, ladies, for showing up. It's a small, intimate group, but it is being recorded, so potentially all those people out there, for those of you who registered and you're going to get to see this video, we're going to try and make it as relevant and as useful as possible for you too, because there is so much really cool stuff that you can take away from the DiSC as a framework, as a concept. And you heard I do lots of other stuff, but this is probably one of my most favorite things to do out there. And usually because it's the most fun thing that I get to do, talking about people. So I'm hoping everyone's pretty good today. We've already had a bit of a chat. Seems like we're all pretty relaxed. Today is all about you, how you react, how you show up, how you behave, how you roll generally. It's I guess we're going to get a bit self-aware. So, you know, get ready for some self-awareness, people. It's coming your way. And I thought I'd start by going through how the different styles like to interact with webinars. So see if you recognize yourself in any one of these. So let's say some of you were here 10 minutes early, at least. And you were sitting there at your computer. You were probably reviewing the agenda and the invite that you got, just making sure that you had all the details and you were fully prepared. You've probably got a beautiful blank notebook, possibly even freshly, crisply new next to you with your favorite pen. There it is. It's ready to go to take down all the detail that you need. You are totally dressed head to toe immaculately, and yeah, you've probably organised one of those beautiful backgrounds. So you've got it all going on. Now, by contrast, there's some of you probably not even here yet, but you're going to show up later and see this bit of the video and go, oh yeah. and yeah, your computer might be on, but you're off somewhere. You know, you're off, and you're that one that goes, hi, just getting a cup of coffee. Hi. So you turn up late. You know, doesn't matter to you that the thing started. You had other stuff to do, or you might be struggling with technology. You're texting your mates, going, have you got the link? I can't find the link. Are we supposed to be in there? And you are definitely going to blame technology for not being here. It's like, something's wrong with Zoom. I haven't got the latest update. You know, that's what's going on here. Or IT's blocked it. You are 100% not dressed from head to toe, especially not if you're home. You are probably rocking out some Ugg boots and some pajamas on your bottom half. So, but what's on show for the world for you is absolute perfection. This is the Instagram world for you. Like, all around you might be chaos, but just for what's on show, it's looking pretty snappy. So that's you. Now, you're probably a bit annoyed at the fact that, we're not really interacting live yet. We were originally not going to have videos on. That would really have cheesed you off, not being able to see the faces and interact with people. You'll be checking out the participant list and seeing who your buddies are, saying hey in the chat box to them, letting them know that you're there. So, if mute wasn't on, you'd already be talking over the top of me, basically. That's what would be happening for you. All right, then, of course, we've got another style, and I don't know if any of you are going to fall into this bucket, but you were also here early, and you were probably staring at that waiting screen. You will be admitted to the meeting shortly, and you're sitting there going, what's going on? Why is this happening? Where is everyone? If you were texting your friends, you're going, are you seeing this screen? I'm seeing this screen. Should we be here yet? Why aren't we in? So, oh man. And right now you're thinking, what's this chick going on about? What is she even saying? I came here for content. Come on, let's go. Content. I want to get onto it. Tell me about DiSC. What do you want about? So if you are in the chat box, it's maybe 3 words long at most. More likely 1 word. That's what I'll get from you when I ask a question. It will be a 1-word response. And you're only going to put an answer up in that chat box if you're 100% sure you're correct, because there is nothing worse for you than not being right. All right, and then we have one more style of person, and you might be sitting there, this is a bit weird, because typically you'll be start going, I'm just going to turn my camera off. I don't really like being in the spotlight. I just prefer to just sit back and chill, and nobody's going to ask me to do anything here. And if somebody actually asks me to put anything in the chat box, I might just pretend that something's going wrong at this end, because I don't necessarily want to get really, really involved and be exposed to the group. I'm really happy to see the people here, and I'm also probably going, oh, who's here that I know? But I'm not going to put anything in the chat box because that would be rude. That would be just rude. That might disrupt the group, and we're not going to do that. So you've got lots of different styles that show up, and we're here for a webinar, but I'm betting in the last 6 months, web meetings were a pretty key part of our world, weren't they? So you might be having a bit of a giggle thinking, yeah, maybe I do a little bit of that, or you might know that person that does that and how they interact in these sort of chat rooms and these webinar scenarios. And I guess that's what we're here to talk about, is those little quirks of temperament, and they're part of who you are. They're as natural as breathing. You can't help it. And you also really can't understand why anyone else is behaving differently. It seems really odd when you see people behaving in ways that are quite different from you, just like going, how can they possibly be so rude? Or how can they possibly talk so much? So, it's just a case of you're who you are, they're who you are. We're all different, and that's really what we're here to talk about. So before we get started, let's put the chat box into use. I'd like to get a sense of if you have done this kind of stuff before, And Jennifer, you were kind of going, no, this is baseline, but maybe you have. So I want you to just put, if you've never done any kind of psychometric profiling or any of these types of sessions before, just put nope. If you have, put yes, and see if you can remember the name of the one that you did. And usually that's the trap, people going, it was the one with birds, or it was different colors. It might be Myers-Briggs, or, okay, so we've got some DiSC there. We've got a couple who haven't, pretty interested. Yes, someone that's done DiSC and Myers-Briggs. Oh, goodness, Rachel. you could have just run this session. What's going on there? Everyone's going, no, it's not my gig. No, thank you. All right, so we've got a couple of you have done DiSC. This is a surprise for me. And, Cherie, you've done Myers-Briggs. So that one's been around for a while. For those of you who've done Myers-Briggs, it's a really powerful tool, but I don't know about you guys, but I get really confused trying to remember the combination of the 4 letters and what they means. See, they're going, I'm an E-N-P, and then you just can't hang on to it. So I love Myers-Briggs, but one of the things I love about DiSC is it's really simple and easy to grab onto, and that's what I'm hoping we're going to get onto today, is something that you can just take away and simply apply straight away. Might be at work. I often use it on my family. So you can use it across the board with this. All right, so let's take a little look at what DiSC is. And so you will have seen, if you've done DiSC before, these kind of 4 quadrants. So DiSC is a method where we are pretty much identifying 4 big buckets that people naturally fall into. And this is, I guess, something that some people go, that's just not possible. Human beings are just far too varied for that to possibly work. In fact, the background to us trying to figure out why people are different, what makes them different, when does it begin? Is it physical? Is it psychological? What's going on? It started back like more than 2,000 years ago with Hippocrates. So way back then, he was trying to figure out what sort of human beings were different, but his research was involved like cutting up corpses and seeing where there was more blood and where there was more phlegm and where there was more bile. And he still came up with 4 basic types of human beings from that kind of research, which he connected to the way that these people behaved or what they were known for. Now, since Hippocrates, obviously, there's been a few more bits of research, and not necessarily based in cutting people up, but more of the sort of phenomenon of psychological research and thinking about where it comes from and is there any way we can figure out human beings. So literally hundreds of research pieces and thousands of results, and it just keeps coming up over and over again. My business colleague is just currently doing her master's in psychology, and she's studying this, and she just keeps saying to me, temperament, if you're talking nature and nurture, this concept of temperament has been proven over and over and over and over again. You are born with it. It is there. It is absolutely provable through research that you've got a temperament, and you are probably going to stay with that temperament for the duration of your life. So that's pretty interesting in terms of kind of going, oh, okay, I thought this was a bit touchy-feely, hippie kind of a concept moving forward. Some of you might have been thinking, yeah, it's all maybe a bit of pop psychology going on there, but no, it is really hard-grounded research. DiSC itself is about 100 years old since it first was introduced, I guess, and the concept of DiSC was bought relatively recently by a company called Wiley. Stick your hand up if you've got a reaction, if you know who Wiley is, if that rings a bell for you. So I've got no hands up, so people are going, no, I don't know why. Okay, maybe you've heard of this. Have you heard of the Dummies books? Microsoft for Dummies, Divorce for Dummies, whatever it might have to be. Yeah. So Wiley owns all of that material. And even though that seems a bit frivolous, what Wiley is actually a huge research organization. And so they're enormous, very, very rich in resources. And so they've invested continuously over the last 20 or 30 years to continue the research around DiSC to make it even more robust in terms of the information that you get from it and how you can use it. So it's a really good tool. As I said, I'm accredited in a couple of things, and I've been through about 3 other different types of personality or style predictor programs, and it is definitely one of my favorites. So I'm hoping you're feeling pretty excited now. Type it in the chat box. Are you excited? Yes. Good, absolutely fine. Always excited. Excellent. Good to see. And we've got some claps going on. All right, so yeah, we're keen to move on. I do like to, at this point, just put a couple of little warnings in there before we start. And I do this because I know it typically is going to come up, so I like to kind of get it out of the way at the beginning. The first thing I want to say is this is not about stereotyping people. When we say there's 4 buckets, that doesn't mean that there is 4 buckets of people who will all behave in exactly the same way. So there is certainly a myriad of variations within each one of the 4 categories. And to that point, DiSC has actually now expanded into the fact that there's kind of 3 segments within each of the categories. So there's almost kind of 12 styles, if you like. If you want to do the full program, you can find out more specifically where you are. And there's differentials in the information you can get from that. So it's not about stereotyping people. And it's also, I guess, we need to acknowledge that we do all have a little bit of all the styles in us. So we can all have, you know, maybe predominantly one style, but we can have little attributes from the others in us as well, because we are a blend. And there is no pure style in nature. So there is no pure D, no pure I, no pure S, no pure C. They just don't exist. Now, when I'm talking to you, I'm going to give you some examples, and I will use extremes. So you'll recognize little bits of those examples in the behaviors of people who sort of think, oh, yeah, I know someone who's a bit like that. Maybe not 100% there, because, as I said, nobody's 100% anything. But it's just for the purposes of you getting a handle on how they typically behave. So that's what I like to say about stereotypes. We're all a blend. And the other thing I like to say is, once we've figured out who you are, that is not an excuse for you to behave in the extreme of that style and just use that as your kind of go-to pardon card, if you like, when you've decided to bring out one of the worst aspects of that particular behavior. So if you're a high D, it's not an excuse for you to sort of saying, well, I'm very blunt and direct, suck it up. You know, it's a case of, yes, we know you tend to be more blunt and direct, but please don't use the fact that you're a D to excuse some poor behavior that might be in the extreme of that realm. So we're not about doing that kind of thing with excuses either. Now, the final thing that I like to raise is, who's the real me? And this, I think, brings up a lot of questions as we go through. So I want you to type into the chat box now, if you think, are you a different person at home to who you are at work? And if you think you are, I want you to just type yes. If you think, nope, I just want you to type no. Okay, so I'm getting a few yeses coming through. A no from Anne, a no from Rachel. Okay, I think that's most of us who've got something in there. Yeah, sometimes. I'll take a bet both ways there. And a couple of no's. All right, so for those of you who said yes, are you a different person at work than at home? I would just like to ask you one question. Which one is the imposter? Because all of the research tells us that you are who you are. So whoever you are at home is who you are at work. You are the same person with the same preferences and the same way that you would really rather behave, given that all things were equal. But you cheeky little monkeys, what we've figured out is how you can adapt what you would rather do, because you've figured out, you're smart, that behaving that way at work is probably going to cause some issues, or will get you into trouble, or will not get you to the goals that you want. And maybe not even at work, maybe at home, you know that there's certain things that you would tend to do if there was no external pressure to shift your behavior, that you would tend to go to. Now, I'm not probably the most organized person in terms of time. And seriously, people, when we talked about that person who was, Instagram perfect up here, but some interesting stuff going on behind the scenes, if I could take this camera and show you just how many things are sticky taped up around this room, you'd be going, okay, so that looks a little bit different. And I'm not naturally organized, but I learned pretty quickly that if I couldn't figure out how to be organized at work, I was going to fail miserably, to the point where I had the CEO of my business when I was promoted into a manager role. In the first 6 months, she showed up at work and she looked at the office that I'd created and she sort of said, "You're very organized, aren't you?" And I remember just like going, "Holy crap, I filled that." And she, I then felt obliged to live up to that reputation for the rest of my career in that particular job. But, we learn to behave differently, but you are who you are. And the only thing that's different is about the way you have managed to figure out how to adapt your behavior to suit your environment. And that's also what DiSC is really good for, because sometimes you're not really aware that your behaviors aren't being helpful. So DiSC kind of helps you shine a light on where things might be causing some strife or trouble, so you can then take some action to move it along. Now, I'm sure all of you are highly evolved, and those of you who said yes, let's just take it that you are highly evolved. You've figured out, you might perceive it that you're a different person at work, but you're just actually very clever and evolved, and you figured out how to adapt your behavior to your circumstances. And that doesn't mean that the people who said no are any less. That just means that perhaps, you've managed to figure out how you can absolutely be you and true to yourself, and your role absolutely suits who you are. The other thing that's pretty funny is how many of us, and give me a hands up on the screen, little reaction button, if you think you actually behave a bit worse at home sometimes. Maybe. Yeah. Don't you sometimes think that we treat the people who are closest to us and the ones that we love a bit worse than the ones that we work with? We sort of feel like they're going to forgive us. There's a little bit more leeway for us maybe not to be our best selves. So yes, we can behave differently in different environments for different reasons, but you are who you are. And I also say when people do the profile report and they use the full tool and they get the results back and they go, "That's not me," I usually say, "So who did you get to fill in the questionnaire?" You answered the questions. So it's just telling you what you said you believed about yourself. But people do fill out the report sometimes, particularly if it's a work thing. They'll kind of go, I think people are expecting to be a certain way, so I'll answer it in order to try to give that image off. So we really do try to encourage people to be who you truly are in that report, and then that's when you get the most use about it. All right, so I'm hoping that we have got, we're ahead of the game now in terms of understanding DiSC, where it's from, some caveats and some background. Now I'm going to, obviously we didn't send out a survey. There is a really in-depth algorithm controlled survey piece which gives you some really robust information about yourself. But we're not going to do that in our 60-minute session. So we're going to do it the really fast and furious way, which I often use and actually turns out to be reasonably accurate. And I would like you to, if you've got, for those of you with beautiful notebooks, just draw one of these on it. Just put a grid on a piece of paper. And let's start with that. And what I'm going to do is ask you to make a couple of choices based around that grid and those axes that you're drawing, the vertical and the horizontal axes. So the first thing I'm going to ask you is how you see yourself in either one of these categories. So do you think predominantly you are a very fast-paced, fast, we move fast, we sleep fast, we eat fast, everything, you do fast, and you're pretty outspoken. You're happy to have your say. Is that more your tendency? And that's going to be at the top of the line. And I want you to plot yourself on a line, vertical axis. If you're feeling like you're really fast-paced and outspoken, put a little dot right at the top of the line. If you feel that you are a more considered, reflective, and methodical kind of person, you like to take your time, you'll move through the world slowly and pause and really like to take in your surroundings. If that's more your mode of operation, then just move your dot down towards that level, depending on how extreme you think you are in that direction. But one thing I don't want you to do is please don't stick a dot in the middle of that vertical line. Make a choice. Move it just either a nudge up or a nudge below the center of your line. Okay, so there's that question. And the next thing I'm going to ask is, which bucket of this kind of category do you fall on, thinking about our horizontal axes? Do you see yourself as a really accepting, warm, people orientated? You gravitate towards wanting to spend time with people? That's where you get your energy. You know, you generally are drawn to kind of that people, empathetic, more emotion side of the spectrum. Or do you shift yourself more down to this, I'm more questioning, more skeptical, I'll be thinking pretty hard about any information that you give me, I'm not going to take things at face value? You know, over here on this category, I'm the one that buys that face cream that people tell me will take 20 years off me on Facebook. That's me. Whereas if I'm down here in this questioning and skeptical thing, it's very rare that I would do something like that. I tend to question everything. Right now, you're probably questioning me and this process, and you want to see some research to, you know, validate this. I'm saying it, but you're kind of going, yeah, who did the research? Give me a link. So plot yourself on your line one way or the other there. So when you've done that, obviously you've got yourself plotted on a line that way, and you've got yourself plotted on a line that way. So if you're sort of thinking about where do I sit, you'll probably see that I plotted myself up here. I'm normally pretty fast, pretty loud, and I lean very much towards the accepting, warm, you can just tell me stuff and I'll go, oh, that's a good idea, let's go. So that tends to be where I sit. And once you've got that on your piece of paper, just, you know, do a little bit of year 10 or probably year 8 mapping, draw your dot lines up and see where your dot would fall. And that should give you a bit of an idea about where you land in the DiSC space. So it's not perfect, by no means like the full survey, but, you know, you'll get a bit of a sense from this as to where you think you're going to sit. All right, now, has everyone finished their little plot point? Okay, who's doing my polling? Am I doing the polling? I think I can do the polling. Excellent. I'm going to whack up a poll, and I would like you to just tell us which one your dot ended up in.
Sorry, which is which, Sue? So
Okay.
do we know which square is which?
Sorry, my apologies.
Yeah.
I need to take it back a couple of slides in order to show you. So
Awesome.
that's a D up there on the top left, and an I, and then an S, and then a C. You can see that. I've also got them behind me. So if you forget. All right, so I've got 4 out of 6. Okay, I think that's one more in. I think that's everybody. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, I might have one more.
It doesn't let me vote, Sue. So I know.
That's all right. We've got 6. Let's see who we've got in the house. All right. So we've got 2 Ds and 2 S's and 1 I and 1 C. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy that we've actually got a spread of people. I just did a full leadership program with Dairy New South Wales, a bunch of dairy farmers, and there was not a single I in the entire group of 48 people. So I'm thinking you're picking I'm an I, so I was just like going, whoa, all right. Normally I can find a friend somewhere in the space. I've got a friend here, so I'm pretty happy about that. And this typically shows up in teams and cultures that are really balanced and get along well as you get this nice spread. Okay, so now I kind of want to give you an opportunity to express yourself a little bit. So let's just go with I'm going to give you a gesture for your style, and we'll just see who's who in the zoo. So cameras are going to need to be on. Lee, Cherie, Jen. There we go, they're back. All right, so if you are a D, your gesture is a good fist pump. So that's it for you. All right, if you're an I, here's what you're doing. High five, high five, high five. That's you, okay? If you are an S, you're just doing a hi. All right? And if you're a C, we just want a nice, small, but effective, that's me, thumbs up. All right? Are we ready to give it to the screen all at once? After 3, 1, 2, 3. Oh, yes. I've got a few different people in the house and we can see who's who in the Zoom. All right, now I didn't give you too much to go on then. We're going to expand on that in a little bit. But what I thought I would do now is just go, let's have just a little breakout discussion and put you in maybe some pairs. And the question that I want you to answer is, what style is my boss? So just in your little discussion groups, I'll just give you 2 or 3 minutes just to sort of going, oh, what do I think my boss is and why? And then we'll come back. All right, so who's got our...
I can't hear. You're muted. Yeah.
Am I muted? Emily's muted.
You're back.
Yeah, we're all muted. We'll go back on mute now if you like.
All right, no, that's fine. Go in the chat box and just type in what you think your boss was or is. Okay, an I, an S, C, an S. So 2 S's, a C, and an I. DiSC. Yep, which is a thing. D bordering on the line to the C. I think that's, most of us have had a bit of a guess. There might be a few more coming in. So isn't that interesting? Because one of the big myths that are out there when you understand the styles is people think that to be a leader, I need to be a D, or I need to be an I need to be this charismatic, outspoken, really full-on person. But we can see here that we've got a couple of S's and a C mixed in there. And I'm often asked the question, I'm just not that forthright, or I'm not that great with people. Am I going to be able to ever make it in a leadership role? And you can see there that plenty of people make it into leadership roles no matter what your style. It is all about how you adapt and how you leverage the strength of your style. All right, so we've had a bit of a chat. We're starting to think if we can recognize it. And I think it's important at this point in time is it's easier to understand a different style when you think about what's driving their behavior. And you can see on the grid here that they've got priorities around the outside. And some of the styles share a priority. So if you look over on a DiSC side of things, am I sharing my screen? No, yeah, that happens with the breakout groups because you lose your screen share. I think I remembered that. Now I've lost my videos. Again. Okay, so can everyone see that now? And so you can see there's these priorities on the outside. And so a D has a set of 3 priorities typically, and you can have up to 5, which means you can stretch into other sides. So a D is core priorities and needs, sits in the middle, bang on there is results. So if you think what a D needs, what's driving their behavior, what they're trying to achieve every step of the way is they want to get to the result, which is why they're saying, stop faffing around, Sue, and tell us what this is all about. So move on. And they've got action and challenges, other kinds of priorities that they move for as well. Now, if you look at the I's got enthusiasm as something that they really need. And the other thing that really drives an I is a word that people can get a bit
offended by, it's status, because I's need to be valued. They need to feel like they're important and that they contribute well. So as well as enthusiasm, and I at the base of their needs, what's driving their behavior is, I need to be recognized. I need status. I need you to tell me I'm the greatest thing ever. And when I get to that point, I'll be happy. I'm pretty action oriented, but I also love collaborating. I draw a lot of energy from people. Move around to the S, and what they need is support. They need to feel supported, so that keeps them happy, that keeps them comfortable. And they also have a very, very basic need, which is not up there, which is harmony. And S will spend a lot of their time just trying to keep things happy around them, keep everybody comfortable, keep that harmony going. And the C, you can see there they've got accuracy. I'm going to take it a step further. A C spends their life searching for perfection. So, man, is that a hard way to live your life? Everything's got to be perfect around you, and that can be such a high standard to set yourself, and has all sorts of implications. I mean, it's great when you want quality control, but, you know, for me, I'm at the opposite end of the quadrant. I'm just like going, oh my God, could we just move on with things, please? So you can see how the different styles are going to impact it. An S who's desperate for harmony is going to feel, you know, absolutely trodden on and obliterated by a D who's just hammering their way through the world, kicking obstacles out of the way to get to that result, and probably upsetting a few people and putting a few noses out of joint along the way. But that's what's at the base of the behavior. They're not trying to piss you off. Really, they're just going after what they need, what their temperament is saying, this is what I want and what I'm trying to achieve in the world. So with that in mind, we're kind of going, all right, these are the needs that are happening. Let's talk about a couple of different scenarios about how you might spot these guys in the world. So we've done the needs, and sorry guys, spot the style in action. Let's think about, why did the different styles volunteer, do you think? So let's start with a D. Why does a D volunteer? Remembering a D is after that result. So they're doing it because they've either been told to, they need to do it. It's like an organizational imperative. We need to do our corporate social responsibility. That's part of what we do. Maybe I've been told I need to grow my EQ in order to be a better leader. So, you know, I'll try and volunteer as a way of showing empathy. And I'm not interested in joining any kind of volunteer group that just spends their time faffing around. You know, if I'm going to be a volunteer, I'm with a group that just gets stuff done. Otherwise, I'm just going to get really, really frustrated. Now, you genuinely want to make an impact. All the things that you're trying to achieve are right, but you're only interested in doing it if it's a really pushy, punchy kind of a cause that you're doing it, and that the people around you are also driven to get somewhere. Now, the I will volunteer purely so other people think that they're a better person. And they are very unlikely to volunteer if they're not able to tell someone about it afterwards. I spent 3 hours with Family Foundation. Yep, it's really rewarding. If I can't say that, if I can't tell someone that I'm doing it, it's probably unlikely that I'm going to volunteer. I'm volunteering. Once again, I do want to make a difference. I genuinely care. But if I can't tell someone about it, I am not your anonymous donor. You know, first thing I'll do is I'll go home and I'll tell my partner about it. So I'm doing it for the recognition. And a friend of mine who's a high I, she sort of said, yeah, she saw a homeless person outside of the supermarket. And so she offered to go and buy something to eat in the supermarket and asked her what she wanted, etc. But the first thing she did when she got home was, you know, tell her husband, I just helped out this poor lady outside Coles, bought her a chicken sandwich. You know, couldn't stop herself, couldn't just let that be and be happy with the fact that she offered some help to somebody. So, you know, they get their hit from the act when someone else knows about it. So that's why an I volunteers. Why does an S volunteer? Of course, an S will volunteer. They're just built that way. They're born that way. It's about community, and they absolutely believe in community. And so they're probably one of the biggest people who will step into volunteer situations. And by the way, that's, as I said, not because the other styles don't care, they just express it in different ways. So, you know, an S will spend a lot of time in those meetings making sure that everyone's okay with the way forward and are we all agreed. And they'll be really offended when the D's there going, well, we need to get this done. So can someone tell me a deadline? When's this going to be done by? Yeah, I know we're all volunteers, but, you know, we're not here to stuff around. This needs to be done by Thursday. And people will be going like, well, I do have another job. But, you know, the D's is like, that's not why we're here. We're going to volunteer. We're going to get stuff done. So there's our, you know, S could be really a bit like, oh, that's a bit much. You know, we don't want to upset anyone. Now the C, I think C's would tend to probably volunteer a little bit less. They'll do it because they're trying to achieve perfection. So if they see that something needs to be fixed, they might step into it because there's a problem to be fixed and they want to go about like getting to that perfection point there. They will probably suggest the Excel spreadsheets. They might even be saying, let's set up a Trello board to organise this so that we all keep track of what's going to be done and be accountable. And, you know, if any of you are volunteering for this who were a C, possibly you might have wanted to write a scoping document for what you were trying to achieve here and put it out to tender to a few different people just to make sure that you got the absolute perfect result that you're looking for. So, you know, that's how a C sort of behaves in a volunteer scenario. They just take all of their wonderful quality control attributes and inflict it on the organisation. They might take the whole thing over. So, you know, that's typically how those different people sort of volunteer. Is that giving you a sense of the people that are around you and how they might be behaving in different scenarios? And we've all seen this kind of behaviour going on. And if you can step back and kind of going, I know why they're doing that. They want it to be perfect. You know, we're all here to volunteer, but this guy wants it to be perfect. This person wants to, you know, get to that result. This person wants to have some fun and be recognised because they're being such a great person. And this one is just genuinely here because they care about it so deeply. So there's a few things to recognise in styles in action. Now, I'm pretty aware we're on timelines here, aren't we? Yeah. So the last thing I want to talk about is how we get triggered by that opposite style. And I've sort of started to touch on it a little bit. So you can imagine someone who's, let's say 4 of the all different styles, and they've said, it's your job to organise the Christmas party this year. And so you can just kind of see how this is going to go down, don't you? You've got the D who's just like going, okay, we need a date, we need a venue, but they're really frustrated going, do we actually need Christmas parties? Isn't that just going to get in the way? Can we just not think about 2021? Like everyone just wants to spend it with their family anyway. So let's just sort of date, venue, done, you know, let's go. Whereas the I's are going, awesome, we're going to put on the best Christmas party ever, and everyone's going to just say, that was the best one. That was the best one. You made it so fun, so fun. Oh, we can have dress-ups, costumes, themes. Let's have a party. Oh, we've got to have awards, you know. And so they're just going off the Richter scale of all the things, whereas the S is like going, oh, God, costumes? No, that's too hard. People won't want to do costumes. And they'll be going, oh, have we got a plan for who's a vegetarian, who's lactose intolerant? We need to pick a central venue because it has to be, you know, fair and easy for everybody to get to. And then the C will come in at the end and going, what's our budget? Have we thought about WH&S? So they kind of just like suck the life out of it at the end with their drive for perfection and the need for detail and sorting it all out. And so, you know, people will get triggered by it. They'll be talking about those details. The I will be just like going, oh, we can sort about that later. That's not important. We'll get to that later. That'll be a last minute thing. Whereas the D's just like going, no, we just need to wrap this meeting up and get to a result. And we don't need all of that detail. And, you know, the S is being mortally offended by the fact that nobody has considered the fact that we need a broad menu exchange and have we got wheelchair access for the people who, you know, have a disability. And no, we can't have karaoke because not everyone likes to sing. So it's all going on in the way that we get triggered by people, particularly those who are diametrically opposite to us because they've got traits that are just really, really polar opposites. So I'm going to put up a poll now, though, to give you a little bit of hope. And that poll basically says, if you're thinking about someone significant in your life, so a person you choose to spend some time with, might be husband, wife, partner, your best friend, whoever it is, but who's your significant other? And the choices are they someone who I think is the same style as me, exactly the same, or are they that absolute diagonal opposite to me, or are they one of the two neighboring styles, so just different from me? So thinking about your significant other, just tell me who that person is. So if you think they're a D, an I, an S, or a C, are they the same, opposite, or just different? All right, we got 4 out of the 6 in. A couple more people thinking about it, probably trying to figure out who their partner is. Some of them are a bit hard to pick. There we go. So, isn't this encouraging? Only one person's actually picked exactly the same kind of style to spend most of their time with. And actually half of us have, gone for someone different, and 2 people have actually gone for a total polar opposite. And so what that says is really we can all get along. We can all figure out how to interact with the other style and make it work. Because remember right at the beginning, I said we're clever. We learn what behaviours work and what don't. And let's face it, sometimes people are foisted upon you, your workmates, your kids. You can't pick what style your kids are going to be and you can't put them back. So, we've got to figure out how we can stretch. And sometimes in the heat of the moment, that's really, really hard. So I'm going to leave you with some catchphrases. Just, when you're boiling and someone's really, really triggering you, just to think, how can I get through to this person? Just chant this mantra, chant this mantra, chant this mantra, and it will serve you well in terms of making sure that things go a little bit better. So here we go with our mantras. If I'm dealing with an I, remember we are up in that side of the screen. With an I, it's involve me. I just need to be involved. So whenever I'm being triggered, just let me know I'm valued, I'm involved, I count. I need to feel included. And if you have that in your head in the way you deal with that person, you're probably going to work it out fine. If you are dealing with an S, show me you care. Ask me how I am. Show me that I'm actually considering all of the other people in the equation. Really need to show that you give a hoot about the other people who are involved in whatever's going on. If it's a C, you have to give me the detail. You absolutely have to give processes, give steps, give the background, give what was involved, what's been going on. I need lots and lots of detail if I'm going to interact well with you and move towards whatever direction you want me to go in. If I'm dealing with a D, be bright, be brief, be gone. Just get out of there. They do not want to faff around. They do not need to be asked how they are. They're not interested. They don't want too much emotion. They just want you to be fast, furious, and get on out of it. So there's a few little mantras for you to just think about in those moments when you're going, oh, I'm dealing with someone who's different from me and they're really triggering me. Just try to think of these things. You can write them down. It'll be in the slideshow for you later, and that will help you on your way. So guys, I think we are kind of nearly out of time. And so I'll just leave you with just Sue Minchin. Obviously my name's up on the screen as well. You can find me on LinkedIn, or you can find me on this website, and you can lodge an inquiry there if you want to find out a little bit more. Like, we have just touched the tip of the iceberg, and this is so much fun to deal with. You can, I can do things one-on-one. We do coaching programs, just using DiSC as a basis for a coaching space. We do stuff with teams, which is super fun. We do things around managing conflict. We do things around leadership, getting leadership teams to bond. We do things around organizational culture. There are lots of different ways that DiSCs actually help organizations thrive. So if you are interested in exploring a little bit more about what that looked like, you can certainly reach out to me. I'm very happy to discuss it. I really hope you found this useful so far, and I think we'll open it up now and see if there's any questions that might have come out in the chat box, or feel free, we've got a small group, you can just hit me with them as we go.
Thanks, Sue. Did anyone have any questions? I see some scratching heads.
Can I just say that we have used Sue and the DiSC stuff at BusQ quite a bit, and we've used it in our leadership program, and it's been amazing the difference that it's made to people working together better. It's just phenomenal. You wouldn't believe it until you see it in action. It's really made a massive difference to us. So we've gone into a lot more depth and done a bit of a program at Sue, but it's been really phenomenal to work together and work on our own understanding ourselves, but also understanding our colleagues and why sometimes we're different, and just working together better because we know we're different to each other and we approach each other differently now. And it's been really a great program. So it's my 2 cents.
Thanks for that, Anne. It has been a lot of fun working with you guys.
But we've also seen some great outcomes from it. It's been really good and fun too.
How long has BuzzQ been using Sue's services, Anne?
So Sue worked with us as a consultant on a number of different things, but the program that Sue ran with us for our leadership did it go for about 12 months, but not like all the time. So we had a session maybe once a month or something like that, once every month and a half. Is that right, Sue?
Yeah, we did it about, I think there was 8 sessions, but we also built in a project for the team to work on, which was delivering their annual conference. So that was a team building program with an outcome. So, you know, instead of having the cost of outsourcing the conference, I just helped that team manage a project to deliver a conference, which was pretty amazing.
Amazing. A great experience, and yeah, a really great team result. Like, you know, really tight-knit group now.
That's fantastic. So there you go, everyone. If you're thinking about getting some consultancy in, definitely think about Sue and get some extra steps in your processes at work and get everyone talking to each other and being on the same page. That's fantastic. If anyone did, Lee, I think you're unmuted. Did you have a question, Lee?
Oh, no, I was just going to reiterate what Anne said. I guess after doing the DiSC profiling, there's not a day that I don't think about how I react, how I deal with conflict when I'm dealing with different personality styles. Anne and I actually had a meeting at lunchtime, and we were talking about different personality styles and how to be more effective. And, you know, I was actually asking Anne for feedback on some feedback that I had received. You know, should I, you know, how do I adapt myself? So it gives you a good opportunity to look inwards and be vulnerable and sort of ask for different help at different times. So, yeah, ditto. I think even in my personal life, I made sure I didn't make the same mistakes with husband number 2. Yeah.
Yep, fair enough.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lee. Cherie, did you have a question?
Oh, I was just going to say, well, I've done this a few times with the quadrants, but I think I need to put it on my desk because it really is effective. It puts everything in a new light, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Both yourself and other people. I think I need to stick it up in front of me. So I really appreciate it.
I think it's also important because specifically in association that's volunteer, that we're all very passionate and we're all coming from different angles. So we love construction and we're all here to empower women to, you know, be active in the industry. But those different angles, and I've really noticed that in being an I, and I do sound terrible, that I am a bit also the results. So sometimes I'm in conflict. You know, let's just get going. You know, but I still need to, So it's really interesting, and I think it's. I'll take it all on board. I'm constantly learning in a leadership role, which this is, you know, it's volunteer, and it's really opened my eyes, and this sort of has bracketed it.
Yeah.
You know, go, I need to do that for that person. Yep. You know how you're doing like spreadsheets?
Yes.
Yeah. I think they need a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really great. Thanks, Sue. Really great. Thank you.
Yep. Look, it's my pleasure. I really believe it makes a massive difference when you start to just become more aware of who you are and the way you behave and the impact it has on others and why they're behaving the way they are. And just thinking, okay, if I need to really relate to this person, what are the slight changes that I can make in the way that I approach this that's actually going to make this easy? You know? So unfortunately, you can't change anyone else. You can only change yourself and the way you approach it. But normally, if you change the way you approach it, you get a different result. So it's pretty cool. And I'd love
I really like the bit around thinking, you know, what are people, you know, looking to get out of this, especially, you know, with that NAWIC layer. That was really good as well.
Yeah.
You know, often I see it as a bit of a conflict management tool, but also, yeah, what satisfies that person, you know, what's driving them. I liked that.
Yeah.
That element.
And I think that's something to consider too for our volunteers, but volunteers across all organisations, is what's their why? Why are they a volunteer? What is it they want to get out of it? You know, is it recognition? Is it results? Is it that they've got something that they can contribute to the association that might smooth over or assist some holes that maybe need fixing? Excuse the construction pun, but you know that there might be something different to what each person's after being a volunteer. We're not all the same. We're all individuals. We all have different bases for being an NAWIC volunteer, and I think knowing what each volunteer's reason for joining, maybe not in depth, but getting a general idea, I think will help to work out maybe which area of NAWIC they might be best suited to, what things they want to get out of it. And then I think that will also help in making sure that we have the right volunteers in the right areas that can move NAWIC forward and do bigger and better things in the future.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And people play to their strengths. If they love the spreadsheets,
yeah,
give them the spreadsheets.
Spreadsheet. Absolutely. Excellent. Any other questions, guys, before we move on? No, don't see anything.
Got the hairdresser,
no. Looks like it.
I love that for you.
What do we? Oh, here we go.
Great stuff. Nice work.
Hey,
OMG, that's recorded.
Cut off there.
We can cut it out. It's fine.
Hey, congratulations on a really great session. Thanks for pulling everyone together today. Definitely all taken, not just one thing, but multiple things out of it. And thank you, Anne, as well, and definitely Sue, and Summer, the genius.
Yeah, Summer, always thanks, Summer. Thanks, Summer. Yeah. Now, guys,
I'm sure we can edit any faux pas videos out of it. So, yeah, thanks, everyone.
No, perfect. Now, thanks, guys, for spending your Wednesday night with us. I know that I'm assuming kickoff will be shortly for State of Origin, but thank you for being present, and thank you for listening. Sue, fantastic presentation. Really appreciate it. I know that it's only the tip of the iceberg, but I think even just the session that you've done with us tonight will be valuable for all of us, and certainly make us think a bit more about how we're interacting with people that we're working with, and also our friends and family. So thank you so much. Now, NAWIC Queensland, we've got some events coming up. So we've got the Christmas breakfast at the Victoria Park Golf Complex on the 3rd of December. Tickets are selling pretty quickly. So if anyone hasn't bought their ticket yet and want to purchase one, please do so as soon as possible. We've also locked in our venue for our International Women's Day breakfast for the 8th of March 2021, which we're very much looking forward to. Keep an eye out for events in between those two. There may be some cheeky events we're planning. And if you have any suggestions for events, please let us know. We're more than happy to take on board any suggestions. That's all that we're going to have time for tonight. I'm sure that you're all quite keen to jump off and get your dinner ready. But thanks again to Sue. Thank you all for coming. Thank you, Summer, for your technical expertise. Really appreciate it. We will be circulating Sue's details after the event. So if anyone would like to get in touch with Sue to get some further training or workshops or things like BusQ have done, please don't hesitate to reach out to Sue. I can also forward Sue's details too if you want to send me an email. That's not a problem. Excellent. Well, I think that's it for tonight.
Do we all finish with our action again?
Are we ready?
Yeah, we can do that. Actually, Sue, do you want to stop sharing your screen? We can get everyone's photo up.
Cool. There we go.
Excellent. I'm just going to close the chat box. Okay, cool. Now, if everyone wants to do their pose, I'm going to take a quick picky. So 1, 2, 3. And 1, 2, 3. Excellent. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Thanks,
everyone.
See you soon. Thanks.
Thanks,
Bye.
Sue. Thanks, Em. Thanks, Summer.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
See you all.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone. See ya. Bye.
See ya.